They brought wood and fire. They tied her to a stake. And in the cold morning air, they burned a woman. Not because she lied, but because she dared to say the truth out loud. Her name was Kimpa Vita, a voice that rose in the kingdom of Congo and still refuses to go silent. In the 15th century, before the names Angola or Congo were written on maps, there was the Kingdom of Congo. It stretched from the Atlantic coast deep into Central Africa, ruled by a king known as the Man Congo. By the 1500s, Portuguese explorers arrived, bringing crosses, trade, and eventually slavery. Christianity took root in Congo, but not in the way it did in Europe. The people did not forget who they were. They mixed the new faith with their ancestral memory. But with the gospel came power struggles. Congo broke into civil war. Factions rose. Europeans meddled. And in this fracture, a young girl was born. Her name was Kimpa Vita. Born in 1684 in the small village of Kibangu, she was no royal, no noble, just a girl among many. But from a young age, something set her apart. She was serious, observant. And by her teenage years, she had joined the church as a spiritual assistant, Nganga Marinda, a seer of spiritual matters. But her destiny wouldn't be shaped by the Bible alone. It would be shaped by the land, the people, and the fracture of a nation. At around the age of 20, Kimpa Vita fell ill. It is said that she died, at least briefly, and returned changed. She began to speak of visions. Of Saint Anthony, not as a European, but as an African. She claimed she was now a vessel, that Saint Anthony spoke through her. But her visions went further. She said Jesus himself had African features, that Congo was a holy land, that African people were not cursed, but chosen. And she began to preach. Her message spread quickly. To the broken, to the poor, to the people in between kingdoms, she gathered followers. Not in stone cathedrals, but under trees, in villages, at crossroads. She called for peace in the kingdom. She condemned slavery. She said the Portuguese and the priests had twisted the gospel. This movement became known as the Antonians, a uniquely African form of Christianity, rooted in liberation and truth. But Kimpa Vita's fame was dangerous. Not because she threatened the faith, but because she threatened those who controlled it. The Catholic Church called her a heretic. The Portuguese saw her as a rebel. Even local African rulers saw her as a challenge. She was arrested, interrogated, accused of blasphemy, false prophecy, and treason. But even in chains, she refused to deny her visions. She did not beg. She did not recant. In her final days, she remained steady. In July 1706, Kimpa Vita was sentenced to death by fire. She was only 22. They brought her outside the town, tied her to a stake, and as flames rose around her, the people watched. Some wept, some stayed silent. Some, even then, believed she would rise from the ashes, but her body was turned to dust, and her name buried in silence, for a time. Centuries passed, empires fell, borders changed. But Kimpa Vita's name remained, on the lips of rebels, priests, and historians who searched for truth. Some say she was the first to speak of African liberation in spiritual terms. Others call her the spark that came too early. But all agree. She was not just a prophetess. She was a voice from the land. A voice that still lives in Angola, in Congo, in every African who questions the world around them. You don't have to believe in visions to know when someone speaks truth. Kimpa Vita spoke what others feared to hear. That Africa mattered. That its people mattered. That history wasn't only written in Rome or Lisbon, but also in Congo. And for that, she was burned, but not forgotten. This is Afrika Untold. Her story is ours now.